30 Minutes with Ron. Greetings, my name is Ron Gagliardi, and I'm the host of 30 Minutes with Ron, and that's where you are right now. And we're right here because we're going to do something that might be of interest to you. Let me explain. Part of the reason I do this show is to let people out there, you folks, find out about people who live among you and do interesting things and who are interesting people. And we have managed to get one of those here this evening. Shh, don't tell anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Ruth Sullo.
Well, thank you. I feel good that you picked me to be a representative of the interesting people around here.
Yes, it took a while, but we finally got you on.
Yeah.
And also, I'd like to welcome everyone to this set. This is new. We've never been behind this before. So hopefully all will go well. And I'm told that we have to be very careful because if we put too much weight on something, it might tip. We're not going to do that. All right, so back to Ruth. Who exactly are you? Like, where do you come from? Tell us about your life. Tell us how you got to this spot in your life. All those good things.
I am a local yokel, born and bred in New Haven and Hamden. And I am now the director of Square Ruth Incorporated. I was a teacher, a math teacher. I taught art and math.
Very rare.
I know. And one Halloween, one of my students said to me, Ruth, you should wear all squares, like a graduation cap and a big square and so forth, and we'll call you Square Ruth. Isn't that funny? I said, oh, I love it. And it's been my nickname for about 30 years.
Nice.
And it's my business name, and it was my license plate for a while. Square Ruth. I present workshops, I tutor, and I write.
Uh-huh. So if I were looking for a workshop, what direction would I be looking in?
My top number one workshop that matters to me the most is how to think like Leonardo da Vinci. How to Da Vincify your mind. Not to think on his level, but in his style, so that you can do many things with your brain. Not just tell yourself, oh, I'm just math-oriented, or I'm an artist. You can do both. And I teach people how to do both.
Okay, so if I went to your workshop, which I have, what would be one thing that would be a takeaway that I would be able to utilize in different parts of my life?
I can teach non-drawers how to draw, but you draw. But if someone comes to me and doesn't draw, I teach them how to draw.
What's your method?
Well, it's the standard thing that art teachers do. You teach the person how to not think of how you're supposed to draw something, like your hand. I have them put their hand in a strange position and draw that. And if you're thinking in the wrong way, you're thinking, well, how am I supposed to do that? That's not how you draw. You let your mind go blank, and your eye follows the edge. And as your eye is following the edge, your pencil point moves. You don't think to yourself, what is the method for drawing this position of a hand? Because that's how you do math. And I get people during the art to think how they're doing that. This is controlling them. It's not a rule in their mind that's controlling them. That's a different kind of art. You can draw from things you think up. But to draw in a rendering way, where you're drawing something in a realistic way, the way Leonardo did, this controls you. The object itself teaches you how to draw itself. But in math, you have to have rules in your head, or rules in a book, or on your cell phone you can Google division of fractions, or calculus derivatives, all kinds of things, area of a triangle. But you have to have that rule, and that rule has to control what you do. I have people shift back and forth, and really you come out of the workshop with the idea of, oh man, I know how to shift my brain. I can do all kinds of things. And it's beautiful to see people do that. I do it when I tutor. I give a separate little lesson on drawing. And it opens students up to how to use their brain to get into math. And math opens doors for people, which to me makes a math teacher very important in a person's life, you know?
Yeah.
There's so few things you can choose from among professional careers if you have no math background. You have a little list, but if you have a math background, you can pick any major you want. And I would love to open up people's freedom to choose all different things. See?
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question. I had some inside information here. I know that you recently contributed an 1,800-word article
I did.
to the Cheshire Magazine all about math and parents and their kids.
Yeah.
And there were lots of different interesting points in there. So first of all, we'll direct people to that issue that comes out sometime in May, and that will be around for some time even after that. So they want to see that article.
Yeah.
But now they're going to have an advanced bit of knowledge from that article, directly from the author.
Good. Oh,
You're on.
well, parents have a lot to do with how well their students do in math, how well their children do in math. Some parents will say, oh, he's not going to do well, I could never do well, and I'm passing it on to him. That's why he doesn't do well. Or some relative may help a child, and if the child struggles, they say, come on, it's so easy. Or how stupid can you be? Why can't you learn this? And you can't talk that way to a child because they'll take it to heart. It will stick with them for life. And even though for you it may be very easy, you have to bite your tongue to not talk that way. You have to think of something you're afraid of, like maybe you're afraid of heights or elevators or speaking in front of a group. And you freeze up when you have to do those things. Well, that's how this young person feels with math. And if you put your fear feeling in you when you're trying to explain math, you'll have empathy for your child who's trying to struggle. And you'll be able to be supportive to the child. Another thing, you may have a smart kid, and you've known from when he was a baby. He was very smart. And you may wonder why this child that you know is a genius is having trouble with math. Well, sometimes smart children choke on math because think of what it's like when you're a little child in elementary school and you have to learn rules and tables and memorize them, and the teacher tells you what to do, you reproduce it on paper, hand it in, you get an A. It's like an insult. You can do so many great things with your mind. You're not going to learn these rules, you know? And all your papers come back to you X, X, X. And as a little child in your formative years, you get the idea in you that you can't do math. And that sticks with you. So a parent seeing this kind of thing happen needs to tell their child, you got to think in a different way. They give you a rule, follow the rule, really. Do other things outside of math, but when they tell you, line up the decimal points, or reduce it, or memorize the tables, just do it. It's no big deal, and you'll enjoy math once you get moving with that.
That happened to me.
Ah,
I got wrecked up in ninth grade. They put this new math kind of thing from Yale on us.
yeah.
I could not get it. And ever since then, I've been an art teacher who was not good at math. You're an art teacher who's good at math and art. I just didn't do too well. Didn't work for me. Maybe we'll talk. Maybe you'll help me.
Oh yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah, it's such a wonderful feeling to get people to do math that believe they can't do it. Yeah.
All right, we'll talk.
Yes.
Another thing that I know that you're very interested in is something about unintentional prejudice.
Yes.
Yes. Let us know about that. Give us the rundown.
As I said, I was a math teacher
Yeah.
for 33 years, and 23 of those years I taught in urban districts. I taught city kids for 23 years. And you know, in New Haven, I had formed a group called the Big Mac Club. MAC, standing for Mixed Advanced Classes. You look around everywhere, and the calculus classes, pre-calc, AP, math, they're all white kids and Asian. Very few black kids. And society has to change. You know, there's no shortage of talent among black kids, Hispanic kids, but things happen. And sometimes the way a teacher will teach a class, a little black child will feel like a stranger in a strange land, that this is not meant for them. It's possible to teach math in a very white way, with your chairs in rows, And if a child says to you, Mrs. S, are you married? You got any kids? You don't say, this is not time for that. We're doing math right now. That's a white way to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Among black children, Hispanic children, relationships between people are a cultural phenomenon that's very important, hugely important. And you address that. You say, yeah, I'm married, I got 2 stepsons, and I got 9 grandchildren. All right, and now let's solve this equation and go right back to the work.
Mm-hmm.
And you address the fact that relationships matter. And you don't say, all right, in your mind, you don't even realize you're doing it. You teach math according to white culture. You can't. You have to have a multicultural way of teaching math. You can't just put things about black history in February. You need to have diagrams on your board of geometry in African villages, which is related to fractal theory. All kinds of great stuff. The greatest math was invented in Africa. And that's got to be mentioned. You know? You can't hide that. It's not right. And it will open things up. I have a lot of little things that math teachers can do to open that up. And if it doesn't happen in math, it almost doesn't matter if it happens elsewhere, because there's that book, The Bell Curve. People believe that blacks are not as intelligent as whites who buy into the message of that book. And it's a very popular book. And it's not good. It's not right. We have to blast racism away there in order to really make it count. You know? And math teachers are key in that. So I really want to do a lot more workshops for math teachers.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
I would not have thought that there would be a direction of teaching math that was the wrong direction because of race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, white people don't see it. It's like a fish seeing water. Among white people, we see that we are the world and everyone else is a culture. No, we're a culture too.
Mm-hmm.
There is white culture, and black culture needs to be appreciated and aggrandized. You know, you'll hear math teachers say, "Oh, I don't see color." That's not right, because a person's color is an important part of their identity. But if you see color and you see the deficit model of crime and pregnancy and poverty and so forth, you don't want to see the deficit model. You want to see a human being in front of you with their possibility and what they can accomplish. So if you're going to just see deficit model when you see a person who's black, well, don't see color then. But try to tell yourself, I have a person in front of me, and I accept that person, and I will be their teacher and help them be the best they can be, and put the deficit model aside.
Ah.
You know?
Well, I can tell you're very passionate about
I am.
this, and I know you give presentations and talks about it.
Yeah.
What kind of groups would want to talk to you, or have you talked to them?
Well, I've talked at UConn at gatherings of teachers, not just math teachers,
Mm-hmm.
because other subject areas need to know this kind of stuff too. It's just extremely significant in math class. I don't know. I need to spread this a lot more.
You do?
I do.
Well, hopefully we're starting here.
Yes.
And maybe someone watching might be a representative of a group, and they can contact you. We're going to have your website. You have
Good.
a website, right? And
Yes.
Yes, we'll have
Square
that up on
Ruth.
the Square Ruth, of course. Now, getting to something that we both share, we both recently found out that we have ADHD.
Yes.
Can you share what that means and how you found out
Oh,
and what
boy.
it is?
Yeah. Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder.
Ooh,
I'm an adder. ADD, the nickname for ADD people is adders. Yeah. And it's enriched my life, and it also has driven me crazy. And I only found it out 2 years ago at age 70.
goodness.
And all my life I would wonder why I would have trouble focusing. And I know I have high cognitive ability, so it didn't make any sense to me that I would have a problem with ADHD. But when you have high cognitive ability, I was born that way. It's not my credit, I was born that way. And you also have a learning disability, like dyslexia, or is it dyslexia? No, if you have attention deficit and ability, both things cover each other up. You think to yourself, well, I can't have that much trouble because I'm smart. But you feel so stupid You say, maybe I'm not really that smart. I just know how to score really well on high IQ tests. They're little tricks. So maybe I'm not smart. And you're a mystery to yourself. That's called twice exceptional, 2E. And a lot of people are 2E. And administrators in schools need to know about it. Guidance counselors need to know about it. A lot of them don't, because these things cover up, and the young person does not get identified. They don't get services. And if you're a student of color, you also have racism. So 2E people of color have an additional, they have a triple whammy. So I may add this to my list of workshops. Twice exceptional.
If I were an administrator, I would be talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out about it. I found out because a friend of mine is a professor, and she has seen me in action in many different situations. And she said, you know, Ron, you have ADHD. And I thought, oh, I always knew that, but I didn't call it that. I called it the shotgun approach. And my family has always said to me, you know, if you would concentrate on one thing, you could probably be a wealthy man. And I would always say, yeah, but I'm having fun. If I'm doing something and something else occurs to me, I go do something else. And then I have a lot of fun, and I do stuff anyway, and I get lots of stuff done.
Yeah.
Not always at once. So
and we're never bored.
No, I'm never bored. And I like having that disability, because to me it's an ability.
It is. And plus, you know, we can hyper-focus if we need to. One of the gifts of ADHD is if you have to hyper-focus, you can focus like a laser on whatever you want. And then you can go back to being your regular self, which is nice.
Yes, it is. Now, you told me one time that you had a method that you shared with your students for them to let you know if you were getting off topic.
Oh, yeah.
This is cute. Let's hear that.
Well, to me, a triangle is the most peaceful figure. Like a tripod is a very stable way to hold a camera. And if you have a four-sided figure, it's floppy and so forth. But a three-sided figure is very peaceful, eternal, wonderful. So I had students who would really get frustrated when I would get into a tangent, which when you have ADHD, you're good at tangents.
Do it a lot.
So I gave them a green, because green is peaceful, a green triangle, and I had them keep it in the cover of their book. And I said, all right, when I go off on one of my tangents, you take out the triangle, just hold it quietly, and I'll know. I'll come back to where I have to be, and I'll teach the lesson. I don't know how I taught for 33 years, but they loved that triangle because it brought me right back and I could focus.
Well, it also gave them some power, because there's not too many times when students have power over the teacher, and that would let them know, aha, I'm able to control the teacher a little bit just by holding up the shape.
I know.
Yeah.
But I worked with my students as regular people, not I am your boss. Even though me boss, you not boss is how you have to be sometimes. But I like to have a cooperation feeling in my class and teamwork feeling.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
You want to be a person, not just this authority figure.
It's true.
Yes.
Very true.
There's a thing that you were mentioning to me at one point about illness in life and how to overcome and how to get on track again. You've had a couple of major things going on in your life.
I have.
Share those with us, please.
I beat breast cancer twice. Once 26 years ago and once last year.
That's scary.
Yeah. No, it's empowering. It really is. It was scary 26 years ago when I was worried about cancer. I'm saying, oh my gosh, I have cancer, and I'm looking at all these other people. They're going to have their Christmases and their birthdays, and I'm going to die. But I don't know how it dawned on me. Maybe someone said it. I don't know. But I said, the idea came, nobody has any guarantee they're going to wake up tomorrow morning. None of us do.
That's true.
I happen to have cancer, but we're all in the same boat. You know?
Yep.
So I was able to get myself moving. And June 1st, I'm going to be talking at the Veterans Administration, the VA Hospital Cancer Survivors Day.
Oh.
I'm going to be the first speaker. They want me to talk for half an hour on cancer survivorship.
How did they find out that you would be able to do this talk?
I talked at the Happiness Club a couple of years ago about that. And they contacted the person who runs the Happiness Club. Do they have any speakers on cancer? And so she called me, and I called them, and we met.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the Happiness Club.
Yeah.
I have this philosophy that I may have mentioned on some of the previous shows called OPAO. Stands for Only Positivity In and Out, and it makes me the happiest person I know. I don't belong to a happy club because I kind of have one here on the good ship Ronnie World, but I'd like to find out more about happiness clubs. Give us a little bit of information about those.
There's a fella whose name is Lionel Ketchen. He's in southwestern Connecticut. He has a son who died suddenly. And this was probably 15, 20 years ago. And he made a decision that he was going to live a happy life, even with that tragedy in his heart that he thinks of every day. He's going to make a decision to have a happy life. And he founded the first happiness club, I think in Westport.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's all over the world.
Yeah,
if you
I know
Google
that,
happiness clubs, they're all over the world now. I like the one in Madison. I have friends down there, and it's a long ride from Cheshire, but I love going there. And really, when you go to the happiness club, you get the idea of happiness being a decision. You choose happiness.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So what would be the normal kind of how a happiness club meeting goes? How do they do it?
Oh, they just get a speaker every month
Uh-huh.
on something empowering. People that work in corporations to get teams working together better or communicating better, or people that do tapping. You know how there's tapping that moves your energy. Then there was laughter therapy once. That's funny.
I've experienced that.
Oh,
Yeah.
you just stand looking at people in a group, and she says, all right, start laughing for no reason. And pretty soon the whole room is laughing, and you get belly laughs, and it just does a lot of good for your body.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that a forced laugh would actually work as a laugh.
Right.
But it really does.
Right.
And when you laugh, there's a secretion of dopamine, is it, that helps you?
Norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, all of them.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
So-
you start laughing at the laughs,
Yep.
because the laughs sound so funny, you really are laughing with your group. So.
I remember there was one thing that we used to do at teenage parties where we'd recline on a floor, because that's the best place to recline if you're at a party. And so you would be opposite to each other, like there would be a head on someone's stomach,
Yes.
and then someone's head on your stomach.
Yeah.
And then one person goes, ha, and the next person goes, ha ha, and then pretty soon you got 15 people in the room just convulsing with ha ha laughter.
Yeah, because the person's stomach under your head is making your head wobble like that, and
That's
it's
right.
just so funny. Yeah.
They don't do that at the happiness
No,
clubs,
you
though.
just stand up and look in each other's eyes, and then move around to someone else's eyes and all laughing. But I like one that's more cognitive about stuff like crystals and all that new agey things.
Wow. I wouldn't think that just standing around staring at each other would be that happifying.
It was happifying.
And if someone wants to join a happiness club, would you Google happiness clubs?
Yeah, you don't really join. You just go.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
no membership, there's no
No.
dues, you just go.
No dues, no nothing. Nope.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they're listed. There's a Happiness Club newsletter. And they, like all over Connecticut, I think there's a half a dozen happiness clubs just in Connecticut. And you'll see the speakers, and you go to whichever one you want.
Wow. So now, here we are. We're at this meeting, this visit together, and we're talking. But what if we didn't know what to talk about? If this were Happiness Club? I mean, we didn't talk at all. Would you just stare at each other?
No,
or do
you listen.
talk too?
The speaker takes up the whole time. It's first the person in charge reads announcements, things that are going on that are of interest to everybody, or something that she read in a magazine that's inspiring. And very often, the people who go to this are fun to be with, and you strike conversations up with whoever's next to you. And then, once she's done with announcements, she introduces the speaker, who's about probably an hour. Then you go home. And there's conversations afterwards all the time.
And you've been in this happiness group for how many years?
Oh, see, the first time I went was probably 15 years ago. Yeah.
So you're still doing that?
Yeah, except it's so long to go to Madison. I just stay in touch with some people that go to that happiness club, and I meet with them a couple of times a month, just the 6 of us. We formed our own little happiness club.
The
It's really
Sub-Happiness Club.
Yes, yes. We call ourselves the Sacred Sisters. And we form a happiness club together.
So now when you say Sacred Sisters, does that imply that there's mostly women in happiness
Yeah,
clubs?
6 women. No, there's both men and women in the happiness clubs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, now I see by our clock that we're getting close to the end of our time together.
Uh-huh.
So I want to make sure that you've managed to speak about what you wanted to speak about, because I might have missed something.
There's one thing.
Go to
One
it.
thing. With all the advice I gave to parents in the math and parenting, and as I was thinking about coming down here, what do I really want people to come away with from our session tonight?
Yep.
Is that the thing that Whitney Houston kept singing about in her song, learning to love yourself, is the greatest love of all. And in order to empower yourself to do all these different kinds of things and to have a good life and to be happy, you need to choose to love yourself. It's so important. It's the basis for everything else, you know? And so if parents can do that with their children, if we can, to get your children to feel that way, and for you yourself to feel that way, pass it on to your child, and to live your life that way, with that as the basis.
It is a conscious decision.
Yes.
I mean, you can decide that I am going to be happy from this point on, and I'm not going to let things bother me.
Yes.
And that works for some people, and doesn't work for some other people, but you can actually give it a go.
Yeah.
There was a song a couple of years ago, probably about 10 years ago, and the main chorus line was, "Don't worry, be happy." That was a really happifying song.
I love that song.
Yeah, and you can't not listen to that song and not be happy.
I know.
Yeah, did I say that right? I don't know. Well, whatever, I'm still happy about it. All right, so we've learned some stuff tonight, and we hope we've been informative. And if we haven't, it's probably your fault. No, we would never even think that. So thank you, Ruth, for coming along here.
Oh, you're so welcome.
It was fun, it was informative, and I'm feeling happy already.
Oh, good.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we hope to see you again on 30 Minutes with Ron.